All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, if you're watching this video, what you've kind of realized, and what I've realized as well, is a large portion of the online coaching space has become very highly commoditized. Okay, there's a lot of people who made a lot of money in a very short amount of time, and a lot of that happened around COVID. See, because like what happened pretty much is, let's say you're an in-person coach or you're a coach doing something, let's say in a gym during COVID, 95% of people had to go online. What that did to the industry is, the supply went up. What happened to the demand? So a lot of money was made during that kind of digital gold rush era. And what happened was a lot of people during this time, during COVID, made a lot of money. And what they did is they're now teaching these same tactics that worked back then to this starving crowd who, didn't really have a great product, but they were just pushing because the market was so good, and they're still teaching these same tactics. So pretty much they were just in the right spot at the right time, and they were just able to push this product and sell now the same thing back to you that worked for them, which just doesn't work anymore. So kind of what I realized from this, just kind of observing this from an objective point of view, is a lot of coaches have become very highly commoditized, and they haven't realized that it's not what you sell. Oh, this is my service, this is my service. It's actually who you sell it to. Okay, so imagine this. Let's say you're opening up a burger stand. Let's say you're selling burgers or hot dogs or something like that. And I said to you, okay, I want you to make, you know, what are you going to do to make your burgers or your burger stand the best, most profitable business ever? Most revenue, most profits, etc. You're probably going to say, oh, I'm going to make my burgers really good. I'm going to make it really look nice, store best ingredients, best quality. Okay. But what I would say is a starving crowd would beat all of that. And that's exactly what happened with COVID and around that time where all these tactics emerged. Okay. Is everyone was preaching to a hungry crowd. Therefore, whatever they threw out the wall just pretty much sticked. So pretty much what you're seeing, like what are these tactics? You're pretty much seeing that everyone was pushing these same kind of tactics that everyone was using, which is like, hey, go on Instagram, post your content, make a crazy Grand Slam offer, do all this stuff, send cold DMs, whatever, and then move to your $200 a month Bali apartment and get your little get your little Bali scooter, right, and drive around Bali. And these same processes, yeah, that worked 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they don't work anymore. Okay. And what happens is if everyone is doing the same thing, if everyone's doing X, if everyone's doing the same case study to get to to this outcome, what happens is because everyone's doing it now, it's become highly commoditized and it's becoming less in value. We're actually kind of just seeing this right now. I've been looking into OpenAI and Facebook, which is Meta, and what's happened now is ChatGPT was selling the $20 a month. Um, ChatGPT was selling the $20 a month renewal subscription service. What happened was Meta just recently released their open AI version, and they gave it away totally for free. And the AI is actually better than ChatGPT's. What do you think this did to the demand? Right, this just totally wiped out a large portion of ChatGPT, of OpenAI. Okay, so what I'm saying is if everyone's doing the same thing, if everyone's following the same process, that same process will no longer work to get to that outcome. And for me personally, if you're a coach and you're like, oh, I send cold DMs, I do all this stuff that everyone's saying to do, you're not going to get the 50, you're not going to get the 100, you're not going to get the 6 figures a month. I've scaled a few coaches to over 6 figures a month, okay? And they're not doing these same processes. They're not doing these like, oh, I just go on Instagram and I post a little bit, or hey, I do this. They're doing things that people wouldn't conventionally mark as a truth. And you really aren't going to get the 50, 100, whatever large amount of money a month just by saying, oh, I want to hit 10K a month. Oh, I want to play the small game, and kind of grinding your way up that ladder, grinding, putting your head down, doing the same things everyone else has taught you, and then realizing that it had zero correlation with actually what is actually working. Okay, because it doesn't matter what people say to do, it matters what works and what works today. So here are the steps that I would focus on today to remove yourself from this muck, to remove yourself from this competition that is totally pointless, that people are just saying to do that actually really doesn't work. Okay, so number one is you're going to want to find high level markets. Okay, a lot of people don't talk about this, but you need to find high level markets. For example, let's say I put you in a room with a bunch of billionaires, and I keep you in that room with a bunch of billionaires, let's say for 5 years. Okay, at the end of those 5 years, you're probably most likely going to be a millionaire at least. Okay. Now, let's say I do the same thing and I put you in a room with a bunch of, people who are weird, whatever. Same thing's going to happen, but the other way around. Okay. So when you're going towards a market and when you're picking a market to go after, you have to pick the highest level market because you're going to get a percentage of what they are earning. So, for example, the fitness coaches that I've worked with have always targeted people who can spend money and can be like, oh, okay, here's 6, 7, 8, 9K for a fitness package, where it's like, not where you're like jumping on a call with someone and just like, oh, I make $2,000 a month. Oh, I make $1,000 a month and I can't afford to spend $500 on investing in my health, investing in my fitness. Okay. It's really targeting people who can and who do have that capital power to invest in themselves. Because at the end of the day, it's not that your package is 6 or 7K or, oh, I have a high ticket package. It's not that. It's, are the people you are going after, are those people, do they have the money to spend on it? Okay, because pricing is built off of your market. And what most people will do is they will pretty much go the opposite route and be like, oh, okay, my total adjustable market is larger. My market size is bigger when I sell lower ticket because more people can afford it. Okay, but then what will happen is then they will become a commodity and they will go down this commoditization trap, which I've talked about in many other videos, which is just a total waste of time and you're just going to burn out really quick. So that's number one. It's really picking high level markets and going after those high level markets. Number two is focusing on acquisition over anything else. So what I mean by this is you need to have conversations as quickly as possible, but not just any conversations, not just like, oh, go talk to some random person or hey, whatever. It's really going out there and having conversations with your market. Okay. So what I mean by this is you have to build a hypothesis of what market you're going after and what you're providing for that market to be able to charge 6 to 7K or even more higher ticket. Okay. And having conversations with those people and gathering data, not just going out there and just posting randomly and expecting people to just come to you because you have a nice physique or you post educational content. It's not going to work like that. So it's almost like in science class, right? So for example, in science class in high school, or maybe you've done science before, how it works is you have your hypothesis, you do the experiment, you get your results, and then you have your conclusion after that. Okay. So what happens is when you're going into a market, when you're picking a market, a high level market, and you're building an offering to that market, you have to have a hypothesis to go in. Okay. And then once you perform your conversations, you now are doing experiments. The more experiments you're able to run, the more data and conclusions and results you're able to gather from those conversations. Okay. And now what happens is you're gathering data and you're having these conversations. You're going to be able to adjust your market, your offering, maybe the sub-market, the vertical, the segment of the market, to really hone in and find people who are that starving crowd that you can target. And honestly, no posting just like endlessly posting random content. It's posting content around and gathering these conversations that lead directly to conversations, because it's not, who posts more or who has produced more content. It's who has the most data and insights. For example, if you take Jeff Bezos when he first started Amazon versus now, the difference between those two people is the fact that Jeff Bezos has a lot of data now. Okay, if he were to go back and start a new business, he would quickly be able to scale that business up. Okay, why? Because he's gathered a lot of unique insights, a lot of data that has allowed him to shift. So you need to focus on gathering data. Even with myself, when I first started, with every conversation I've had, I've always been able to shift in some way towards something, some ideal outcome that has allowed me to make more money or get closer to exactly what people want. And when you know exactly what people want, you're going to be able to exactly provide what people want. And then third is build a releasable infrastructure. So as I call it, build and release infrastructure. So what I found is many coaches out there, what they'll be doing is spending many hours on fulfillment. So like tons of hours. It's just like constant. They're maybe spending, like I was talking with this guy not long ago, spends 12 hours a day on fulfillment. Okay, which is crazy. And you will always be bottlenecked by the amount you can fulfill. So if I give you a bucket that's only, let's say, 500 milliliters, but I give you 750 milliliters, yeah, you're not going to be able to make that money. You're not going to be able to handle that excess 250, okay? Same works with business. You will always be capped by the bottleneck of your capacity. So you always, and you always need to be working on getting that up as high as possible. And the best way to do that, I find, is with a build and release infrastructure, to build once and release it to your clients. So you're not always constantly fulfilling. Because at the end of the day, fulfillment is one of the lowest leverage things that you're constantly doing. And if you're doing it yourself and you're constantly doing it, you're not going to be able to get to 50. You're not going to be able to get to 6 figures a month by you having to hands-on fulfill and do the entire process for them. Okay. One of my mentors named Serge, what he does is he doesn't close, he doesn't appointment set, he doesn't do all this stuff. He has people doing it for him. Even myself, I have people on my team who work for me, people who do the fulfillment, people who do the copywriting, people who do and run the ads, who do the sales, etc. I'm not in there doing it by myself. That's low leverage. Okay. So, like I said, with capacity, you're going to need to find something that's going to allow you to take on a higher capacity so that you can get to that point where you can take on that amount of volume. So, if you follow these 3 steps, you're going to be able to scale. So, number 1, focus on high leverage markets with a lot of capital. Get those conversations in, focus on acquisition. And then third, have a fulfillment model that is not capped, pretty much, that can take on a lot of volume. And the best way to do that is with a build and release. Build once, give it to the client, let them figure it out, let them do the process, coach them through it, automate all of that. Okay. So hope this makes sense. Hope this helps. If you are someone and you're like, oh, I need more data. Oh my God, data. This makes sense. I need to acquire these insights. Go down. I put a video below where pretty much I walk you guys through how to acquire data more efficiently. And what this is allow you going to do is it's going to allow you to shift and make better offers for your market to make more money. Okay. So thanks for watching the video. Cheers.